1 week after the battle, the Galactic Council convened in full session. Every member species sent representatives. The chamber had never been so crowded. Word of what happened in the War Games arena had spread across council space faster than light travel. Ambassador Hyunwoo and Jisoo sat in the human delegation area, watching as various species argued about humanity's application for membership. Captain Tae Yang and Chief Engineer Sora sat with them, both still wearing their duty uniforms. Dr. Yoon had returned to the Indomitable to continue his work. Velthar stood at the central podium, presenting his official report. Holographic displays showed the battle from multiple angles. Council members watched in silence as human fighters swarmed Carthol ships, as railgun rounds punched through vessels designed to withstand plasma weapons, as Marines repelled boarding actions with brutal efficiency. The casualty report, Velthar continued, shows 0 human fatalities. The Indomitable sustained minor damage to its outer hull. 2 Marines suffered injuries, both minor. In contrast, the Carthul lost 8 ships and over 3,000 personnel. A Bravoxian delegate chimed in concern. But the Carthul have terrorized council space for years. We have lost dozens of ships to their raids. How did one human vessel defeat them so decisively? Sora raised her hand. Velthar gestured for her to speak. She stood and walked to the podium, pulling up technical schematics of the Indomitable. The answer is simple, she said. We built our ship to survive and fight, not to look impressive or use the latest technology. Every system has backups. Every weapon is designed for reliability over sophistication. She zoomed in on the armor plating. This metal you all mocked is 30 centimeters thick in critical areas. It can absorb dozens of plasma hits without failing. When it gets damaged, we cut out the bad sections and weld in new plates. Try doing that with an energy shield. A Thrixian delegate raised a claw. But the mass, the energy requirements, surely this is inefficient. Efficiency is worthless if you are dead, Sora replied bluntly. Yes, we burn more fuel. Yes, our ship is heavy and slow compared to yours. But we can take damage that would destroy a council vessel and keep fighting. That is the efficiency that matters in combat. Ornkev stood from his seat. The massive reptilian had been quiet during the session, unusual for him. Now he moved to join Sora at the podium. I challenged the humans to a war game, Ornkev announced to the chamber. I thought their primitive technology would be easy to defeat. I was wrong. Not because their technology is secretly advanced, but because they understand something we forgot. He gestured to the holographic display. War is not about who has the most sophisticated weapons. It is about who can keep fighting when everything goes wrong. Human ships are designed for that. Human tactics assume things will break and adapt accordingly. Human crews train to fight even when their systems fail. A young Aerolith representative drifted forward. But surely our automated systems are superior. AI can calculate faster than any organic mind. Captain Tae Yang spoke up from his seat. AI is predictable. It follows programming. Our pilots think. They improvise. They make decisions that no computer would calculate because those decisions seem illogical. But in war, sometimes the illogical choice is the right one. Can you give an example? The Aerolith asked. Tae Yang nodded. During the battle, one of our fighters was damaged and losing power. By all calculations, the pilot should have retreated to the carrier for repairs. Instead, she aimed her crippled fighter at a Carthol boarding craft and rammed it. Saved dozens of her crewmates. An AI would never make that choice because it does not value lives the way organic beings do. The chamber went quiet. The Aerolith drifted back to its seat. Dr. Yoon's voice came over the communication system from the Indomitable. May I add something to the discussion? I am transmitting historical data about Earth. Holographic displays changed to show images of Earth's history. Battles, wars, conflicts stretching back thousands of years. Council members watched humans fighting with swords, guns, bombs, and eventually weapons that could destroy entire cities. This is our past, Dr. Yoon said quietly. For most of our history, we fought each other. We learned warfare not from necessity against alien threats, but from competing with other humans. We developed tactics for every environment, strategies for every situation, and we learned the most important lesson: survival requires sacrifice. He brought up casualty statistics from Earth's wars. The numbers were staggering. Millions dead in conflicts the Council had never heard of. We have been killing each other efficiently for 10,000 years, Dr. Yoon continued. We understand violence in ways peaceful species cannot. When we reach space, we brought that knowledge with us, not because we want war, but because we know it will find us whether we want it or not. A Silthera delegate waved its tentacles nervously. This is concerning. You are saying humans are naturally violent. How can we trust you in council space? Hyunwoo stood. He walked to the podium and looked across the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. You are right to be concerned, he said. Humans are dangerous. We come from a world that tried to kill us constantly. We evolved as hunters and fighters. Violence is part of our nature. He paused, letting that sink in. But so is cooperation. So is loyalty. So is the willingness to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Yes, we are warriors, but we choose what we fight for. And we would rather fight beside you than against you. Jisoo pulled up new data on the displays. Earth maintains 12 supercarrier groups like the Indomitable. We have 300 colony worlds, each with its own defense force. Our total military could field 5 million soldiers and 10,000 warships. We do not share this to threaten. We share it so you understand what we are offering. An alliance, Velthar said slowly. Yes, Hyunwoo confirmed. The Karthal will return. Other threats will emerge. The Council needs allies who can fight. Who will fight? We can be those allies. Ornkev looked at the other Council members. The humans saved us. They had no obligation to engage the Karthal. Their ship could have fled with the others. Instead, they chose to stand and fight. They lost nothing in our war game, yet they risked everything in actual combat. This is the behavior of allies. A debate erupted in the chamber. Some species argued that humans were too dangerous to trust. Others pointed out that humans had already proven themselves trustworthy by defending council ships. The argument continued for over an hour. Finally, Velthar called for a vote. All in favor of granting humanity full council membership and offering mutual defense pacts? The vote was not unanimous, but it was enough. Humanity would join the Galactic Council. After the session, Hyunwoo found himself in the station's observation deck. He stood looking at the stars, thinking about what this meant for his species. Jisoo joined him, carrying 2 containers of the terrible coffee the station tried to make. We did it, she said, offering him one of the containers. We survived it, Hyunwoo corrected. Now comes the hard part. Living up to expectations. Footsteps behind them announced Velthar's arrival. The insectoid security director approached cautiously. Ambassador, he said, I wanted to apologize. When you first arrived, I dismissed your ship as primitive. I laughed at your technology. I did not understand. What do you understand now? Hyunwoo asked. That primitive and simple are not the same thing, Velthar replied. Your technology is simple by design. Easy to repair. Reliable under stress. We made our systems complex and forgot that complexity creates weakness. Sora and Captain Tae Yang entered the observation deck. The captain had changed out of his duty uniform into more casual clothing. He looked tired but satisfied. Captain, Velthar greeted him. The council has made a request. We would like the Indomitable to serve as flagship for the Orion Sector Defense Force. You would coordinate with council vessels in the region. Tae Yang looked at Hyunwoo, who nodded. We accept, the captain said. But we are keeping the primitive technology. It works. Velthar's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. I would be disappointed if you changed. In fact, the council engineering teams would like to study your design philosophy. Perhaps we can learn from your approach. We would be happy to share knowledge, Sora said. Though I warn you, our methods require more manual labor than your automated systems. I think we can adapt, Velthar replied. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Council military personnel began visiting the Indomitable, asking questions about human tactics and training. Pilot Hae-won found herself teaching alien pilots about manual flight control. Lieutenant Min-ho conducted demonstrations of close-quarters combat techniques. Even the ship's cook shared information about human nutrition and how to maintain organic crews. The council species were learning, not just about human technology, but about human philosophy, about building things that lasted, about trusting organic judgment over computer calculations, about standing and fighting instead of running. One evening, Ornkev visited the Indomitable's bridge. He stood beside Captain Tae Yang, looking at the view screens showing the Orion sector. I have been thinking, the massive reptilian said, about what you told us, that humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. Yes, Tae Yang prompted. The Karthal fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a perfect attack formation. Their ships were ugly things, covered in battle scars and mismatched armor plates taken from defeated enemies. But they were effective. The Carthul had terrorized this region of space for decades. War Chief Gratok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Flesh Render. His amphibian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. The battle arena below held several damaged ships, many observers, and best of all, that strange primitive carrier. Easy prey, Gratok croaked to his second-in-command. The council dogs were playing their little games. Now they will pay for their arrogance. He activated the broad-spectrum communication channel. Every ship in the arena would hear his message. Attention, council vessels. This space now belongs to the Carthul Empire. Surrender immediately. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your ships will be taken. Your crews will serve us. Resist and you will die. You have 5 minutes to comply. On the observation ships, panic erupted. Council species were not warriors by nature. They preferred trade, diplomacy, and automated defense systems. Several ships immediately began calculating faster-than-light jumps, planning to flee. The Thrixian cruiser, Unbreakable Pride, still damaged from the war game, tried to move into a defensive position. Its captain knew his crippled vessel could not escape. At least he could buy time for the others. Aboard the command ship, Ornkev cursed in 3 languages. How did they know we were here? This was supposed to be a secure area. Velthar's mandibles clicked frantically as he worked his controls. Unknown. But we have bigger problems. The Council defense fleet is 3 hours away. We cannot hold for 3 hours against that many raiders. Then we evacuate, Ornkev decided. All ships prepare for emergency faster-than-light jumps. We abandon the arena. What about the damaged cruiser? Velthar asked. Ornkev's face showed his pain at the decision. They will have to surrender. We cannot save everyone. A new voice cut into the command channel. Captain Tae Yang from the Indomitable. Council Command, this is Captain Tae Yang. Request permission to engage the Carthul fleet. Ornkev stared at his communication panel. Captain, did you not hear the war chief? That is 23 military vessels. Your ship is alone. Not alone, Tae Yang replied. The Unbreakable Pride is still combat capable. Together we can hold the line until reinforcements arrive. You will be destroyed, Velthar protested. Your ship is primitive. These are battle-hardened raiders. Maybe, Tae Yang said calmly. But if we do not try, a lot of people are going to die or worse. Ambassador Hyunwoo, I need formal authorization to engage hostile forces in council space. On the command ship, Hyunwoo stood and placed his hand on Velthar's shoulder. The insectoid turned to look at him. Permission granted, Hyunwoo said quietly. Show them what we can do. The Indomitable's engines flared to full power. The massive carrier moved to position itself between the raiders and the fleeing observation ships. Its armor-plated bulk filled the space, a wall of metal and determination. Gratok watched the human ship move and laughed. Look, the primitives think they can fight. This will be entertaining. He opened a channel directly to the Indomitable. Human Captain. I am War Chief Gratok. You have courage but no wisdom. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick. Tae Yang's response was short. No, just that, one word. Gratok's smile faded. Then you will learn why the Council fears us, the War Chief growled. All ships attack formation. Destroy the primitive. The Carthul fleet advanced. Plasma weapons charged. Missile tubes opened. They had destroyed Council ships before. This would be no different. Then the Indomitable showed them what different looked like. Fighter wings launched from every hangar bay. Hundreds of craft swarmed into space, forming defensive screens around the carrier. Unlike the war game, these pilots were not using training rounds. Live ammunition filled their weapons. Real missiles armed their launch rails. The point defense grid came online at full power. Every turret, every gun, every automated system that could shoot started firing. The space around the Indomitable filled with metal. Thousands of rounds per second created a barrier that nothing could cross without being shredded. The first wave of Carthul missiles never reached their target. They hit the point defense fire and exploded, filling space with debris that made the defensive fire even more effective. Gratok's confidence wavered. What is this? How can kinetic weapons track so many targets? His tactical officer checked the readings. War Chief, they are not using automated targeting. Those are organic gunners. Humans are manually controlling the point defense. Impossible. No organic can react fast enough. The Indomitable's railguns fired. Not all of them. Just three. Three solid slugs moving at impossible speed. One hit a Carthel destroyer, punching completely through its shields and hull. The ship vented atmosphere and went dark. The second struck a raider frigate, crumpling its bow like paper. The third missed its target but kept going, disappearing into deep space where it would travel until it hit something in 1,000 years. Evasive maneuvers, Gratok screamed. But the Carthel fleet had never faced an enemy like this. Council ships used energy weapons that could be dodged or shielded against. Human weapons were just metal and mass and physics. No dodging something moving that fast. No shield that could stop that much kinetic energy. Sora, in the Indomitable's engineering section, rerouted power from non-essential systems. Captain, I can give you one shot from the main gun, the spinal railgun, but it will take 90 seconds to charge and we cannot fire anything else during the charge cycle. Do it, Taeyang ordered. Jiho, plot me a firing solution through their formation. I want maximum damage. The human fighters engaged the Carthel screening vessels. Pilot Hei-Wan led her squadron against a raider corvette. The enemy ship's captain assumed the small fighters would be easy targets. He was wrong. Hei-Wan's squadron did not fight like council pilots. They flew aggressively, taking risks that made the enemy's targeting systems fail. They coordinated without computer assistance, reading each other's intentions through experience and training. The corvette's shields failed under repeated impacts. Hei-Wan fired her missiles at point-blank range. The corvette exploded. One down, she called over the squadron channel. Who wants the next one? Her pilots answered with determination. They had trained for this, died in simulations learning to fight against superior numbers. Now they showed the galaxy what Death World aggression looked like. Back on the Indomitable, Lieutenant Minho prepared his Marines. 200 armored humans checked their weapons and equipment. If the Carthel tried to board, they would find out what happened when apex predators fought on human terms. The Carthel made the attempt. 5 boarding craft launched from the fleet, heading for the carrier's hull. They planned to cut through the armor, board the ship, and capture it from within. The boarding craft never made it. Point defense fire destroyed 3. Fighters took out the 4th. The 5th reached the hull and began cutting. Minho and his team waited on the other side. The Carthel raiders cut through the armor plate and poured into the corridor beyond. They expected frightened crew members. Instead, they found armored humans with weapons designed for close combat. The fight lasted 4 minutes. The Carthel raiders were experienced fighters, but humans had evolved fighting other humans on a high-gravity death world. Every Marine had trained in hand-to-hand combat since childhood. They knew 100 ways to kill with and without weapons. The Carthel learned this too late. Sergeant Yunji broke the neck of a raider 3 times her size. Minho used his combat knife to disable 2 enemies before they could react. The Marines moved through the corridor like a pack of predators, efficient and brutal. When it was over, the Carthel boarding party was dead or captured. The Marines had suffered 2 injuries, both minor. Breach sealed. Minho reported to the bridge. Recommend we keep 1 raider alive for questioning. Approved, Taeyang replied. Good work, the spinal railgun finished charging. Jiho had his firing solution. 3 Carthel ships were lined up almost perfectly. Main gun ready, Sora announced. Fire, Taeyang ordered. The Indomitable's spinal railgun fired. A massive slug using the entire length of the ship as a barrel achieved velocities that made the smaller railguns look slow. It hit the first Carthel ship and kept going. Punched through the second. Grazed the third, tearing off its engines. 3 ships. 1 shot. On his flagship, Gratok watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. The humans had killed or disabled 8 ships in 10 minutes. 8 ships. His warriors were fleeing, their morale broken. This is not possible, he whispered. They are primitives. Their technology is outdated. We should be winning. His tactical officer had gone pale. War Chief, their technology does not matter. They are Death Worlders, evolved predators. We are attacking something higher on the food chain than we are. Gratok understood then. The council species had grown soft with their automated systems and energy shields. But these humans came from a world that had tried to kill them every day. They had learned to fight or die. And now they were applying those lessons to space warfare. Retreat, Gratok ordered. All ships emergency faster than light jump now. Docking Bay 7 had never seen so many council members gathered at once. Belthar stood near the airlock, surrounded by security personnel from 3 different species. Ornkev towered over everyone, his massive frame blocking the view for several smaller delegates. The Bravoxian representative hovered nearby, her crystalline body pulsing with curiosity. "Remember," Velthar instructed his security team, "these are primitives. They may not understand basic protocols. Be patient but firm." The airlock indicator changed from red to green. A hissing sound filled the bay as pressure equalized. Then the door opened. 3 humans stepped through wearing simple pressure suits. The suits looked functional but basic, with exposed joints and manual seal mechanisms. No energy shields, no environmental force fields, just layered fabric and metal plates. The lead human removed his helmet, revealing a weathered face and short dark hair. He looked to be in his middle years, with lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often. But he was not smiling now. He studied the assembled aliens with calm, measuring eyes. "I am Captain Tae Yang of the UNSC Indomitable," he said in perfect galactic standard. His voice was steady and professional. "Thank you for allowing us to dock." Behind him, a woman with her hair pulled back in a tight bun removed her helmet. She carried a data pad and what looked like a portable scanner. The third human, a man with glasses and a friendly expression, held a sealed container marked with symbols the translator could not read. "This is Chief Engineer Sora," Tae Yang continued, gesturing to the woman. "And Dr. Yoon, our xenobiology and first contact specialist." Velthar stepped forward. "Welcome to Council Space, Captain. I am Security Director Velthar. We have many questions about your vessel." "I am happy to answer what I can," Tae Yang replied. "For example," Velthar continued, clicking his mandibles, "why does your ship use such outdated technology? Surely your species has discovered energy shielding by now?" Sora spoke up before the captain could respond. Her voice was matter-of-fact, almost casual. "We know about energy shields. We chose not to use them on our military vessels. They are too easy to overload and they fail catastrophically. Metal armor can take hits all day long." The Bravoxian delegate chimed in disbelief. "But the mass, the energy required to move such a heavy vessel, it must be terribly inefficient." "Depends on what you are measuring," Sora said with a slight shrug. "Sure, we burn more fuel, but we also do not explode when someone figures out the right frequency to disrupt our shields." Ornkev pushed his way to the front. "What about your weapons? Kinetic railguns? Chemical missiles? These are ancient technologies." "They work," Tae Yang said simply. "A lump of metal moving at a fraction of light speed will ruin anyone's day. Does not matter if they are using shields or not. Mass times velocity equals a very bad time." Dr. Yoon opened his container and pulled out several packets. "We brought gifts, as is traditional for first contact situations. These are food samples from Earth, all verified safe for most carbon-based species." He began handing out the packets to confused aliens. The aerolith politely declined, explaining it consumed only gases. But others accepted the strange packages with curiosity. "Your crew," Velthar said, trying to steer the conversation back to serious matters. "Our sensors detected thousands of life signs aboard your vessel. Why do you need so many? Modern ships operate with crews of 50 to 200 at most. The Indomitable has a full crew of 5,000. Sora confirmed. Plus 300 strike craft, each with its own pilot. We also carry 2 battalions of Marines for boarding actions and ground operations." The council members exchanged glances. Those numbers were staggering. "But why?" the Bravoxian asked. "AI systems can operate vessels with far smaller crews. It is more efficient." Jisoo, who had been standing quietly with Ambassador Hyunwoo, finally spoke up. "We prefer human judgment in critical situations. AI is useful for calculations and routine operations. But combat requires creativity, intuition, and the ability to make moral decisions under pressure. You let your pilots control strike craft manually?" Ornkev sounded horrified. "That is incredibly dangerous. The reaction times alone." "Our pilots train from a young age," Tae Yang interrupted. "Yes, it is dangerous. But human pilots can improvise. They can recognize patterns. They can feel when something is wrong before the instruments show it. That saves lives." Velthar pulled up a hologram showing the Indomitable's internal structure. He pointed to massive sections filled with supplies, spare parts, and repair facilities. "These sections here," he said. "Why carry so much redundant equipment? If something breaks, you can simply fabricate a replacement." "Fabricators break too," Sora said. "We carry backups. And backups for the backups." The Indomitable can operate independently for 2 years without resupply. We can manufacture our own ammunition, repair any damage, and keep fighting. That seems excessive, the Bravoxian noted. That seems prepared, Sora countered. Dr. Yoon had been observing the aliens carefully. He made notes on his datapad and occasionally took readings with his scanner. Now he looked up at Velthar. I notice your atmosphere preferences, he said pleasantly. You breathe a nitrogen-oxygen mix at slightly higher pressure than Earth standard. Yet my companions have adapted to your station's environment with minimal assistance. Just simple pressure suits and breathing masks. Yes, Velthar said slowly, not understanding the point. Humans are very adaptable, Dr. Yoon explained. We evolved on a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, aggressive predators. Our bodies learn to handle stress. We can survive in environments that would kill most species. Death world? Ornkev leaned down to stare at the small human. You come from a Class 12 hazard planet? Earth is classified as Class 13, actually, Dr. Yoon said cheerfully. Though we think the classification system is a bit dramatic. The aliens went quiet. Class 13 worlds were not places where intelligent life was supposed to evolve. The gravity alone should have prevented any species from developing spaceflight. The weather patterns, the tectonic activity, the aggressive biology, these were places you avoided, not places you called home. Taiyang cleared his throat. Ambassador Hyunwoo mentioned you might have questions about safe routes through Council space. We are heading toward the outer colonies and would appreciate guidance on navigational hazards. Velthar was still processing the Death World revelation. He clicked his mandibles several times before responding. Yes, of course. We can provide you with current charts. Though I must ask, Captain, why does your species seek contact with the Council now? We have been exploring our region of space for 2 centuries, Taeyang said. We have established 37 colonies across 12 systems. Now we are ready to meet our neighbors, to trade, to share knowledge, to make friends if possible. And if friendship is not possible? Ornkev asked, his tone challenging. Taeyang met the massive alien's eyes without flinching. Then we will be polite neighbors who stay on our side of the fence. The tension in the docking bay increased. Ornkev stared down at the human captain, probably trying to intimidate him. Taeyang simply stared back calm and unbothered. Finally, Ornkev laughed. You have courage, little human. I will give you that, very well. I propose a demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Hyunwoo asked carefully. War games, Ornkev announced. Let us see how your primitive technology performs against a modern council vessel. Just an exercise. No live weapons. It will be educational for everyone. Velthar's mandibles twitched. Commander, is that wise? These humans are guests. These humans just told us they carry weapons designed for boarding actions and ground assault. Ornkev interrupted. They bring a warship to our station and speak of death worlds. I want to know what they can actually do. Taeyang looked at Sora. She shrugged slightly. He glanced at Dr. Yoon, who nodded. Then the captain turned back to Ornkev. We accept, Taeyang said. When and where? The War Games arena sat in contested space, far enough from trade routes that live fire exercises would not endanger civilian traffic. A dozen observation ships held council representatives who had come to watch the spectacle. Inside those vessels, betting pools had already started. The odds heavily favored the Thrixian heavy cruiser. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Taeyang stood on the bridge watching the forward screens. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. The bridge was crowded compared to modern ships, with 30 personnel handling tasks that most species would trust to AI systems. Status, Taeyang ordered. All systems green, Sora replied from the engineering station. Reactors at 70%. Weapons charged and ready. Point defense grid active. Strike wings report ready for launch, added Commander Sung-min, the ship's air wing leader. He stood at the flight operations console, coordinating with the 300 pilots waiting in their craft. Jiho, the weapons officer, looked up from his displays. Railguns loaded. Missile tubes armed with training rounds, confirming all weapons set to exercise mode. Taeyang nodded. The training rounds were still dangerous, solid projectiles that could punch holes in a ship's hull. But they lacked explosive warheads and moved slower than combat rounds. Enough to prove a point without killing anyone. Across the arena, the Thrixian heavy cruiser Unbreakable Pride held position. It was a beautiful ship by council standards, all sleek curves and glowing energy conduits. Plasma batteries lined its hull, ready to unleash devastating firepower. Its shields could deflect any known energy weapon. On the observation ships, commentators explained the matchup to their audiences. The unbreakable Pride represents modern military design, a Bravoxian announcer chimed. Energy shields, plasma weapons, and AI targeting systems give it overwhelming advantages. The human vessel, while large, relies on outdated kinetic weapons that cannot penetrate modern shielding. In the command ship, Ornkev sat beside Velthar, both watching the feed. The massive reptilian looked pleased with himself. This will be educational for the humans, Ornkev said. They will learn that size and metal plating cannot compete with proper technology. Velthar clicked his mandibles nervously. I am not so certain. Deathworld species can be unpredictable. Bah! Ornkev waved a clawed hand. The unbreakable Pride has won 17 exercises without defeat. Its captain is one of our finest. The countdown reached 0. The war game began. The Thrixian cruiser moved first, its engines flaring as it accelerated toward the human carrier. Plasma batteries charged, casting purple light across its hull. The plan was simple. Close to effective range, overwhelm the primitive ship with superior firepower, force a surrender. The Indomitable did not run. It did not try to maneuver away. Instead, it launched fighters. Hundreds of small craft poured from the carrier's hangar bays. They scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random but clearly followed some plan. What are they doing? Ornkev demanded. Those fighters should stay in formation. The AI coordination, they do not use AI coordination, Velthar reminded him. Each pilot controls their own craft. The Thrixian cruiser's targeting systems locked onto the carrier. Plasma batteries fired, sending bolts of superheated energy across the distance. The shots were perfect, calculated to strike the carrier's bridge. They never made it. Point defense turrets along the Indomitable's hull opened fire. Thousands of small-caliber rounds filled the space between the ships. The plasma bolts hit the kinetic barrier and dispersed. Their energy spread across hundreds of impacts. Metal slugs vaporized, but there were always more. Impossible, the Bravoxian announcer chimed. The humans are using kinetic point defense against energy weapons. That should not work. But it did work. Every plasma shot that came close to the Indomitable met a wall of metal moving at incredible speed. Some shots got through, scorching the carrier's armor, but the thick plating absorbed the hits without failing. The human fighters reached engagement range. They split into groups, each wing moving independently. Some headed straight for the cruiser. Others circled wide, positioning for flanking attacks. A few hung back, waiting. The Thrixian captain activated his ship's defensive drones. Small automated craft launched to intercept the human fighters. The drones were faster and more maneuverable than any organic pilot could manage. They should have swept the humans from space. Pilot Haywan led her squadron in the first attack. She saw the drones coming and grinned inside her helmet. All wings, pattern Delta 7, she called over the comm. Let us show them what manual flying looks like. Her squadron dove toward the cruiser, accelerating hard. The drones moved to intercept, their AI calculating firing solutions. Then, at the last possible second, the human fighters scattered. They did not scatter randomly. Each pilot moved in coordination with their wingmates, creating gaps in space that the drones flew right through. The automated craft tried to adjust, but their programming did not account for prey that deliberately put themselves in more danger to avoid predicted paths. Haywan's fighter rolled past a drone, so close she could see its sensors tracking her. She fired her training cannons. The slugs punched through the drone's light armor, sending it spinning away disabled. Around her, the rest of the squadron engaged. Human pilots flew with abandon that terrified the observers. They made maneuvers that risked collision, performed roles that AI would calculate as wasteful, chased enemy craft into debris fields that computer systems would mark as hazardous. And they won. The drones, for all their speed and precision, could not predict human unpredictability. Back aboard the Indomitable, Commander Sung Min coordinated the attack. Third Wing hit their portside weapons. Fifth Wing target their engine clusters. First Wing keep their defensive systems busy. The human fighters swarmed the Thrixian cruiser from multiple directions. The cruiser's shields held against the training rounds, but the constant impacts from different vectors overloaded the defensive systems. Warning lights flashed across the Thrixian bridge. "This is chaos," the Thrixian captain complained to his crew. "They have no formation. No coordination. How are we supposed to target them?" His tactical officer looked pale. "Sir, I think the chaos is the coordination." Jiho, watching from the Indomitable's weapons station, smiled. The cruiser's shields were strong, but they had a weakness. Energy shields were designed to stop energy weapons and deflect small debris. They were not optimized for high-mass projectiles. "Captain," Jiho said calmly, "we have firing solution on their shield generators." "Railguns 1 through 6, Tae-Yang ordered. "Fire." The Indomitable's main batteries spoke. 6 solid slugs, each weighing several tons, left the railguns at a fraction of light speed. They crossed the distance to the cruiser in seconds. The shields tried to deflect them. Energy barriers designed to turn aside plasma bolts and laser beams struggled against simple mass and velocity. The first slug punched through, slamming into the cruiser's armor. The second and third followed. The fourth and fifth struck the weakened shield generators. The sixth hit the cruiser's main plasma battery, disabling it. Training rounds or not, the impacts rocked the Thrixian ship. Alarms blared. Systems went offline. The cruiser's elegant design had not accounted for something as crude as a metal slug moving at relativistic speed. On the observation ships, silence fell. The betting pools collapsed as everyone realized they had bet on the wrong side. Ornkev stared at the tactical display, his mouth hanging open. "How?" Velthar's mandibles clicked rapidly. They used multiple attack vectors. Overwhelmed the defensive AI with organic unpredictability. Then they exploited the shield's weakness to kinetic weapons. It is brilliant in its simplicity. The war game lasted 47 minutes. The Thrixian captain, his ship crippled and surrounded by human fighters, transmitted his surrender. Aboard the Indomitable, the crew did not cheer. They simply returned to their duties, securing weapons and beginning recovery operations for the fighter wings. This was just practice to them. Just another day. Tae-Yang opened a channel to the Thrixian cruiser. "Well fought, Captain. Your ship and crew performed admirably. Would you like assistance with repairs?" The Thrixian captain, to his credit, accepted gracefully. "Thank you, Captain Tae-Yang. I believe we have much to learn from each other." In the command ship, Ornkev sat back in his seat. He looked at Velthar. "I think I understand now why they survived on a death world." "Indeed," Velthar agreed. Then the alarms started blaring. Every ship in the arena detected the same thing. New contacts. Multiple vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel right at the edge of the arena. 23 ships. Carthul raiders, known slavers and pirates. They had found the perfect target. A war games exercise with ships at reduced readiness. The real fight was about to begin. The warning lights flashed red across the Galactic Council's main observation deck. Every species representative stood frozen, staring at the massive shape that had just appeared on their long-range scanners. Something enormous was approaching their space station, and nobody knew what it was. Ambassador Yunwoo stood quietly at the back of the chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him, Jisoo tapped her datapad, recording everything the other species said. They were the only 2 humans in the room, and right now everyone else had forgotten they existed. Velthar clicked his mandibles together, a sign of confusion among his insectoid species. His 6 eyes studied the holographic display floating above the council table. The ship on the screen looked blocky and crude, covered in gray metal plating that reflected the light from nearby stars. "What is this thing?" Velthar demanded, his translator converting his clicks into standard galactic speech. "It looks like something from the ancient era, before anyone discovered proper space travel." Ornkev, the massive reptilian commander of the Morlaxian fleet, leaned forward. His scales gleamed under the artificial lights as he examined the data scrolling beside the hologram. He started to laugh, a deep rumbling sound that made the floor vibrate. "Look at this," Ornkev said, pointing at the technical readout. "Chemical propulsion, fusion reactors, metal armor plating. This ship uses technology we abandoned 3,000 years ago." Other council members crowded around the display. A Bravoxian delegate, her crystalline body refracting rainbow colors, chimed her agreement. "No quantum drives. No plasma shielding. Not even basic antimatter systems. How does something like this still function?" "Perhaps it is a derelict," suggested a floating aerolith. its gas-formed body contained in a transparent suit. A ghost ship from some extinct civilization. We should send a salvage team. Velthar manipulated the controls, zooming in on the ship's weapon systems. What he saw made him laugh, a strange chirping sound. It has railguns, actual kinetic weapons that throw metal projectiles. And look here, missile tubes that use chemical explosives for propulsion. The council chamber filled with laughter. Species from across the galaxy, who normally argued about territory and trade routes, found something they could all agree on. This ship was primitive. Whoever built it clearly knew nothing about modern warfare or engineering. The hull is solid metal, Ornkev continued, still chuckling, centimeters thick in places. Why would anyone build something so heavy when energy shields are far more efficient? The fuel costs alone must be astronomical. A Silthera representative, its tentacles waving in amusement, pulled up more data. The ship has crew quarters. Thousands of them. It appears designed for organic life forms to live inside for extended periods. How inefficient. Modern ships need only small crews to monitor the AI systems. Hyunwoo caught Jisu's eye. She raised one eyebrow slightly, a tiny smile playing at the corner of her mouth. He gave the smallest shake of his head. Not yet. Let them talk. I propose we declare it a navigational hazard, Velthar announced. Something this large and slow-moving could interfere with shipping lanes. We should destroy it before it causes problems. Wait, said the Bravoxian delegate. It might have historical value. We could tow it to a museum. Future generations should see what spacefaring species used before they developed proper technology. Ornkev brought up a size comparison. The ship measured over 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Its bulk dwarfed most modern council vessels, which prioritized speed and maneuverability over size. Such waste, he muttered. All that mass for such primitive systems. Whoever built this clearly did not understand basic physics. Energy projection is always superior to kinetic force. Every child learns this in primary education. The aerolith drifted closer to the hologram. I detect multiple hangar bays. It appears designed to carry smaller craft inside. How quaint. Like ancient water vessels from primitive worlds. Carrier doctrine, Velthar explained to the younger delegates. Some early spacefaring species built motherships to transport fighter craft. They abandoned this approach once they realized AI-controlled drones were superior in every way. No need to risk organic pilots. More laughter echoed through the chamber. The council members continued pointing out design flaws in primitive systems. Some began taking bets on how old the derelict might be. Then the communication console beeped. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone turned to stare at the console as it beeped again, indicating an incoming transmission. Velthar's mandibles twitched nervously. That cannot be correct. The sensors show no active power signatures beyond basic propulsion. Answer it, Ornkev commanded. The communications officer, a young Thrixian, activated the channel. Static filled the speakers for a moment, then cleared. A voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. Galactic Council Station, this is UNSC Indomitable requesting docking permission. We are a human vessel on diplomatic mission. Please respond with available docking bay assignment. The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Velthar pulled up the registration database, his claws moving rapidly across the controls. Human, he muttered. The species is listed here. Young race. Barely 200 years of space travel. Current status uncontacted. No formal relations with the council. Ornkev stared at the hologram of the ship, then at the communication console, then back at the ship. You are telling me that primitive vessel is operational? And crewed? Apparently so, Velthar replied. For the first time since the meeting began, the other council members remembered that 2 humans stood in the chamber. Every head turned to look at Hyunwoo and Jisu. Hyunwoo stepped forward calmly. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned the other species appreciated. Council members, he said quietly, that is one of our ships. The captain has come a long way. It would be polite to give them a docking bay. That thing is yours? Ornkev demanded. Your species actually builds ships like that? By choice? We do, Hyunwoo confirmed. Velthar looked like he wanted to ask 1,000 questions. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. But protocol demanded he respond to the docking request first. Assign them to docking bay 7, he finally ordered, and increase security. I want to meet the beings who thought building such a ship was a good idea. Jisoo tapped her data pad, sending a message to the Indomitable. Docking permission granted. Bay 7. Welcome to Council Space. As the other delegates continued arguing about the primitive human ship, Hyunwoo allowed himself a small smile. They had no idea what was coming. None of them did. The real interesting part was about to begin.